We are capping off our Maritime Week with a special crab cake demo where we are going to show you how we make crab cakes here, Back Creek style. But before we get to that, I'm going to share a little bit with you about why we think Maryland crabs make the best crab cakes. So the blue crab is found from the northmost reaches of North America down through South America, but in the Chesapeake Bay things are a little different. We have one of the largest estuaries in the world. The water is not as salty as it is in other places, so that leads the crabs to have a little bit sweeter meat on its own. Also, we have all 4 seasons here in relatively shallow water. So during the winter, our crabs hibernate, and as they bury down into the deep channels of the Chesapeake, they build up their fat reserves. We call it the mustard in the crab. It's a yellow portion of fat on either side. Most crabs you see it's a bright yellow. In Maryland crabs, it is much darker and deeper, and that gives a deeper flavor profile to Maryland crab meat. I'm going to turn things over to Melissa McCormick, who is one of my coworkers here at the museum, a lifelong Solomons resident, and someone who really knows how to show off local seafood to its best qualities. She's going to share her Back Creek crab cake recipe with you. Let's go see her.
Hello everybody. Today we will be making our famous Back Creek crab cakes. This is a recipe that I've developed over the years. I've eaten a lot of crabs from Back Creek in my 50+ years. So what we're going to do, I already have olive oil in a frying pan, and I have that preheating. What I'm going to do first today is I'm going to make up a nice little sauce for the crab meat. And what I like to do, I kind of use dollops here and there because I don't really follow a recipe since I kind of made it up. But let's go with a few tablespoons of mayonnaise. The thicker the better. Mayonnaise is your base for a crab cake. And instead of regular mustard or mustard powder, I go straight for the Dijon mustard. It adds a little more flavor. Everything I'm using actually enhances the crab meat flavor. It doesn't take away from it, and that's what you don't want to do. We have to have our Worcestershire sauce. If you can spell it, good for you. If you can say it, even better. So I do a couple dollops of that. We have to have 1 egg per pound of crab meat. The egg is actually the factor that holds everything together. So we'll break an egg, and this is a big jumbo egg. Now at home, I like to make my crab cakes without a lot of filler, but for today's purposes, it's a little easier to get it to hold together. And we're gonna mix up our sauce here. Again, I haven't put any seasoning in yet as far as the dry seasoning. So with that, I'm going to put a little bit of lemon, fresh lemon. Squeeze that. I like to use a little bit of garlic powder. Again, enhancing the flavor of the crab meat, not taking away from it. And in Maryland, if you don't use Old Bay, some people get offended. I don't like to use a lot of it, but a little bit makes it better. So we'll mix that up. You see a nice, creamy, light yellow sauce. Now for breading, if you use breading, some people use bread, crumbs. I like to use Ritz crackers. They have butter flavor, and again, it just all goes together to make the crab meat much more flavorful. So what I'm doing, I'm just going to sprinkle some in. I pre-packaged these. You just smash, you just have a good time. take the frustration out during COVID-19, and you get a nice fine mix of Ritz crackers. Again, mix that up a little bit, and you see it's getting a little bit thicker. Now, here comes the fun part, and this is where you might want to have some gloves. We're going to take the crab meat. This is lump back fin crab meat, purchased locally at a restaurant. And we're going to break that up a bit. And then you're just going to mush it all together. And I can already tell I'm going to need a little bit more of the Ritz crackers, just to be able to hold that together. Sometimes the crab meat has a little bit more moisture. If you're using your own fresh crab meat, you're not going to get that factor in. But we mix it up, add a little more. All right, so the consistency, as you see, it kind of holds together on its own. So what I'm going to do is make up some smaller crab cakes. This is a pound of meat. Typically, you would get 4 crab cakes out of that. And again, I have olive oil heating. And what we will do is make our crab cake. And I will put it in the hot olive oil. And we will cook each side for about 5 minutes, or they get a nice and brown. So I'll cook it for 5 minutes on one side, and then flip it, and 5 on the other. And we should be good to go. Look at that. Doesn't that look yummy? All right, and the last one goes in, and we let that set for about 5 minutes. If you notice it cooking, it's falling apart a little bit, that's okay. We're not deep frying it, we're not broiling it, so when you pan fry, that's a good sign. That shows that you don't have too much breading and you're using more of your delicious crab meat from Calumet-based Cepetus. Now we've let it pan fry for about 5 minutes. We give it the flip. If you want to get a little more decadent in your eating, I did put a pat of butter on each one, and yeah, it's going to be good. And there you have it, the Back Creek Crab Cake. And thank you for joining us for Maritime Week.